Good morning, everyone. Merry Christmas. Every year, the first Sunday after Christmas, the church honors the Holy Family of Nazareth, of Jesus, Mary, and Joseph in all her masses throughout the entire world. And this particular feast day takes me back to a memory of one of my preaching practicum classes back in seminary. When you're in seminary, you take a practicum for absolutely everything, for hearing confessions, preaching, and so on. And in this particular class, one of my classmates chose this particular feast day to do one of his preaching practicum shots on St. Joseph, who, as we know, is the head of the Holy Family of Nazareth. And I'll tell this story because this particular classmate of mine is currently a priest far, far away in some distant diocese somewhere around the country, and he will hopefully not hear about this. And so he went through his homily saying that St. Joseph must have been a very frustrated individual because he was just an ordinary man living with two sinless individuals, Mary and Jesus, and that his normalness must have made him feel rather inadequate to be the spiritual leader of this already holy house. And so after every homily that we would give in this class, the classmates and the priest instructor would give honest feedback to the homilist. And needless to say, the priest instructor who taught this class did not like this homily at all. And he told this brother seminarian that it was categorically wrong. And he was right. St. Joseph was not just a regular man. He wasn't your average Joe struggling with vice, living with two holier-than-thou individuals. St. Joseph was a man chosen intentionally by God himself, a man of integrity, a man of great righteousness, as the Gospel of Luke describes him. And because of this, St. Joseph is the model of masculine spirituality within the church. And so I'm going to be speaking to you, fathers and men, in this homily. There's a saying that says, good times create weak men create bad times create strong men. A Catholic man cannot be like any other man, as one that is simply complacent with the standard quo of being comfortable and complacent with human weakness. A Catholic man has to aspire to not only mirror the fatherhood of God the Father to his own family, but he must constantly wage war within himself to conquer his heart, possess it, and give it generously back to his family. Because without this, then he becomes a slave to his own weakness. And without this victorious strength, he really lacks the ability to protect his family from the very real spiritual and physical dangers that are constantly and intentionally waging war against our families. The devil and all his minions hates the family. He hates it. He hates it because it is within the family that the human person learns to love, to grow in knowledge of God. We learn how to sacrifice. We learn to forgive. We learn to ask for forgiveness. We learn to give, to care, and enjoy the goodness of God. And out of profound envy that the devil has against us and our families and what happens within the family, the devil wants nothing more than to divide, separate, and isolate. And just as St. Joseph was charged with the protection of Mary and Jesus, so too all of us fathers of every household are commended with this role of protecting our families, of protecting our wives and our children. But this endeavor is near impossible for a man who loves comfort, right? For a man who loves his own will, for a man who is attached to his own pleasures and ultimately to his own satisfaction. In order to not only provide for your family, but to defend and protect them, we fathers, you and I, must aspire to the virtue of St. Joseph. And in order to accomplish this, it is imperative that in order to recognize that in order to assume this role of spiritual authority and protectors of our homes, that we need three things. We need constant conversion through confession. We need constant growth in love through Eucharistic communion. And we need constant prayer. And I'll give special attention to the last part. Saint Joseph, the man who God chose to protect and defend, the Blessed Virgin Mary and God's only Son, at his infancy, the most vulnerable stage of his life, is the model of spirituality for all of us men. He is a man who welcomes Mary and Jesus into his life and dedicates himself totally to them. And my dear brothers, this is exactly how we grow in righteousness, certainly by growing in conversion through confession and through communion, but first and foremost by devoting ourselves more closely to these two figures of Jesus and Mary, just as St. Joseph did. And the best way to do this is through the power of the Holy Rosary. The Rosary is a weapon. It is a shield and a means of growing in greater love of Jesus Christ and his Blessed Mother. The Rosary cannot be something that only grandmothers and pious women pray. Every man in this parish and in the church should be praying the Rosary every day. Every day. And if that were the case, then our world and the church would certainly be in a different state. It takes 15 minutes to pray the Rosary. 15 minutes. If that is burdensome, if that is impossible for you, then that should be enough to tell you that we are not ready to defend our families for even greater burdens or difficulties. And now, recognize my own struggle in this. I try to pray the Rosary every day, and some days are better than others. But if we aspire to cling to Our Lady and to her Son through this devotion, and grow in greater intimacy with Jesus and Mary, I promise you that the battles that you face within your own heart and the ones that wage against your family will end in victory through these two persons who have crushed the head of the ultimate enemy, the devil. If you need a rosary or you don't know how to pray it, don't be ashamed. Let us know and we'll provide one for you. You can call the office. They're already blessed, and we'll give you a little card that shows you how to pray it. There's also a group here that meets in the church every Tuesday at 7 p.m. to pray the Rosary together. The men's Return to God's group is also praying the Rosary in public, I believe, once a month. The Be a Man group as well promotes the recitation of the Rosary. The Fraternist group also helps fathers of families lead their young sons through this devotion. And so, as you can see, you have everything available to you to grow in the righteousness of St. Joseph. There are no excuses, and in fact, we have no room for excuses anymore. We have been through tough times, and when we may even go through tougher still. Now is a time for strong men, not ordinary men.